We have here a guest from out of town here, San Francisco, right?
Yeah, Bay Area.
Yeah, Bay Area. J. Chris Anderson. There's other Chris Andersons, other tech Chris Andersons. So I think that's why you use the J. He's J. Chris on Twitter, and he is a founding member of Couchbase, but it was Couch One, and then before it was
Couch.io.
Couch.io, yes. So they've had a few names, but always the Couch. And if any of you know Jan, he's been here before. He's also a part of that. So he's going to talk to us about CouchApps, and he's also going to try to show up Aaron's chat app.
So thanks for having me. I'm real excited to be here because I grew up in Austin, and like when I was in middle school, I would go to South by Southwest and come to parties at Frog Design. So it's kind of fun to be back. So this is a hackalong. I'm hoping everybody's got their laptops open. We should be able to have everyone write this app together, and then it's more fun, or at least people who feel like participating. So the first thing, I mean, if you don't want to do it, you can just watch. If you do want to do it, it'll be pretty fun. So we got to get CouchDB or Couchbase or some Couch installed on your local machine. If you don't want to install it on your local machine and you don't mind hitting up the Wi-Fi, you can also. Ooh, what am I doing here? Oh, that's bad news.
Starbucks?
We're all going to be on the same Wi-Fi together, aren't we?
Yeah, go to Frog, FD guest, and then.
Yeah, and I did all that a second ago, so hopefully. Come on, do this.
It hasn't connected.
All right. So, so if you don't want to install Couch, you can go to Iris Couch and get it. If you can spell your name, you can run CouchDB. So, Jeff actually is part of Iris Couch. He's here tonight too. But yeah, let's just go through this. So, I have all the files you're going to need locally, just in case we had like some kind of network problem. But it sounds like the outbound network is pretty good. So one option, if you want to install CouchDB or Couchbase locally. So terminology, blah, blah, blah. Apache CouchDB is the open source project. We can't call our distribution of the CouchDB for trademark reasons, so we have Couchbase. So if you go to couchbase.com, go to download, go to Couchbase single server for blah, 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 community edition, that's the one you want. Download. We know that you all want to register to get our newsletter because it's brilliant. And then when you click through here, you can get it for your platform. If you want to skip all that, I hope that wasn't too fast, but you can also just type in this address. So I'll pull that down so people can see it still. Boom. Oh, look at all those windows. So if you go to relax.local, then this is my copy of Couch running here. And if you go into the files database, which is the second to last one, and go here, Couchbase server, then I've got the Windows, the .deb file, and the zip file for Mac. So you can download that and install it, and it should only take it's just like a regular Mac, double click, it's running thing. So when you've done that, your screen will look a lot like this, and you'll have your own copy of Couch. So that's the prerequisite if you want to hack along. So the next step we're going to do is using this. We'll just create a database so we have something to work in. I'm going to call it Austin. The goal here, actually, I'm not a server admin, so I got to log in first. You won't have to log in because until you configure admins, anyone can do stuff. So the goal here is to create a little chat app. I'll show you what it looks like before we build it, so you know what's going to show up. So if I can put in a message and then it shows up. So it's not very different from what Aaron showed, but it's all client-side code plus CouchDB. So basically we'll learn how you can do do this stuff in CouchDB without needing something like Node.js. So I'm creating a database called Austin. You can call it whatever you want if you're building one on yours. And I'm going to create a new document. It's pretty important that you name this _design/chat, or else you might get confused later trying to keep up. So I'm going to save this document, and there's really nothing in there yet. So I created a little bit of HTML for us to start out with, so we don't have to watch me type the boring stuff. So here's my basic HTML. I'm going to add a form, and I don't need any of this junk, so clean it up. And but what I do need is an input with text, and the name is going to be message, and that's kind of all I need. So yeah, is that correct? I think that's all I need for the HTML. We're not even, I could upload this to the server. The server's a web server. We could load it in the browser. The HTML will show up. I'm not going to trouble you with that step. So we're going to do the next bits, which is, throw some jQuery in there so that we've got JavaScript. So this part is, more typing than should be like really super fun in a live coding demo. But the deal here is that on the CouchDB server, a copy of jQuery is like already included in the _utils script jQuery.js file, and then there is a client driver for Couch that's also already included. So we can do that without having to like put any code in our app or upload anything or deal with anything. And then the last thing we want to do is, on that form on the submit event, we want to save this document to the database. So where's my cheat sheet? Yeah. I'm going to actually type it all though. Ooh lordy. Like this one. So this is how you kind of initialize that jQuery.couch.js. So I have a database here called Austin, and now when the form gets submitted, what we want to do is save the message. So we're going to create a document, and it's going to be equal to message is equal to form.
Give it an idea. Input.
Yeah. Name equals. Am I getting that right? Oh man.
Brackets.
Yeah. Where did the brackets go?
Name, yeah. Name equals.
Are you trying to get the input?
Yeah.
Just do input.
Just one space in.
Yeah.
Colon first.
All right. Yeah, there you go.
There we go. So let's extract that value. No, thanks, because I don't write a whole lot of code. I have to do business crap all the time. I'm on vacation. That's why I'm getting to write code now. And then we're going to say, new date. And I think that's all we need to do. Let me check my cheat sheet.
Can you send the actual object back, or do you need to make it a timestamp?
So JSON, so this is one of the wonderful things about Douglas Crockford, is that he said, when you turn a date into JSON, this should be the string format, and it's a good string format. It's got some ISO number, but basically it sorts in order, so it starts with the year, month, day. So this will turn into the right string just from the built-in JSON stuff that's in Chrome. So now we just got to save this doc to the database. So there's the doc, and then I keep wanting this to be Node.js with like the Node.js style callbacks, but it's not. And so on success, all we really want to do is clear out that value. So if we do that, right, it'll just reset the form. I think that's all we need to do for this first step. So hopefully that's not too much for people to be able to follow along on. Oh yeah, and of course, right. So let's upload this to the server and see if it works. So there's this upload attachment button here. Choose a file and drop that there. Okay, upload. And when we click it, now we should be able to leave a message. And that wasn't very exciting, but let's see what happened. Hopefully the right thing happened. Yes, we have a message in the database. So here it is. This is what it looks like stored in there. Message and a timestamp, and that's all we really need for a chat app. So we'll create a couple more. If anyone wants to connect to my, this is a public service running on my laptop there, the relax.local. and drop some messages in. But there's not any cross-site scripting vulnerabilities yet.
I don't think I can get to it.
It should be. Huh. Yeah. If relax.local's not working for y'all, I can put my IP back up. Oh, I probably have a new one now. Yeah. Here, I'll make this big enough to read.
Do I need to hit a folder?
No, it should be available en route.
And 106.70.189.
Let me see. I'm going to make sure that this works for me, right? Because if it doesn't work for me, then
Might not be that.
yeah, it should work. So it's not that important, but it will be kind of fun to get lots of people in here, and we'll do that also in a minute via another method. We'll use replication to kind of mesh everything together. So I need this to be 0.0 should be open. All right, so let's keep moving because we're building this chat app. It's going to work, damn it. So now all we need to do is render the messages, right? So we're going to make a function called draw messages. This is basic JavaScript. Hopefully no surprise to anybody here. So draw messages, and we need somewhere to draw them. So let's put an unordered list in here, and we'll say first we have to go. Yeah, this is what happens when I skip steps. So no, this is the exciting part. This is actually the fun part. So we have these two documents in here: leave a message and another one. And so what we'll do is we'll create a temporary view of those. So this is how you query Couch. You write a little bit of JavaScript. So we're going to emit doc.created at and then doc.message from this view. And you can see we have them both. Leave a message and another one there in that view. So if we save as design chat messages, now that's going to have added that JavaScript to the design document. I'll show you what that looks like in here. So all it is just this little string right there in that in the design document, and that's what actually executes on the server side to provide you, the ability to query your data.
Does it sort by created it by default?
Yeah, so it'll sort by the key. You can sort ascending or descending. So essentially all Couch views do is allow you to pull stuff out of your document, run whatever JavaScript you want, regexes, whatever, create a key that will sort your documents by that key. So timestamps are popular, but you could also do user ID if you wanted to find all the documents belonging to a particular user. So now we have this view, and we want to query it in the app. So the jQuery.couch.js has this nice, convenient, view helper method here, where we're going to query chat/messages, and on success, we get a response. And so what we're going to do is response.rows for each row, and let's just append it to the UL. Oh, and I was watching earlier, I learned. So we're going to do it like this, so nobody can put an alert in there.
Text is the key there instead of HTML.
You win.
So let's upload this again and see if it does anything. First, I have to call this thing. So I've been using Xcode lately, and it has tab completion. It's kind of messing with my head. All right. So yeah, sorry. So let's upload this again. Hopefully, I'm not moving too fast for people to keep up. This is, I think, pretty simple HTML. So look at that! Yay, messages. More of them. Oh, see nothing. See, it's not a chat room yet. Because it's pretty boring, right? If we have to refresh the page to see new stuff, it's not really a chat room. So this is the part where Couch gets interesting. Is it has a thing called the changes feed, which is, let me see, curl. Actually, what am I doing typing? Who still types these days? So if we go get the changes off of this, that just gives us everything that happened on the database in the order it happened. Again, that's not that exciting, but if we say feed equals continuous, we get this nice continuous feed. I'll see if I can leave that over where y'all can see it while I'm typing, more junk, yeah, you got it, right? So those are just going to show up as they happen. Now, what we need to do is have the browser refresh whenever that happens. So, luckily, it's also got what Aaron was talking about earlier. There's this long poll. So if we just do long poll like that, there's already data to service, so it gives it to us right away. If we do long poll since 11, and now it's just going to hang there until something happens. So now we can do a new message.
What's 11?
Oh, so sorry. Yeah, so we've had those things happen to the database. It's a sparse index, so you can see there's some numbers missing. Like 5 is missing because we updated the document in the middle. But it's there's been 11 edits to the database since it was born. So when we save this will be the 12th edit, and boom, we close the connection. If 2 came in at the same time, then we might get 2 in this result set here. We might get both 12 and 13. So this long poll and the since business and all that stuff is something that when you're working with the JavaScript client, you kind of don't have to stress about it. So, so there's this change handler. You just call db changes on this database object, and it gives you like a promise thing. And then you can throw functions at it. So you can throw as many functions at it as you want, and it'll call them basically anytime there's a change. And it calls it with an argument that may be useful, but I'm just discarding it here because I'm essentially using it as an event trigger to redraw. So you could make this as like efficient on the wire or nearly as efficient on the wire as the WebSocket stuff. In this case, I didn't really optimize it. So let's go get the newest version of this up there, and we should have a working chat room. So. Now if we refresh, a new message, more stuff. Oh look, I forgot to clear it out. So now I'm getting the whole chat room twice every time. This is why we call it live coding. So the first thing we should do is all this going back and forth to upload it here is like I'm only doing that for the sake of for you guys. There's command line tools. There's something called CouchApp, which will automatically push any changes up to the database in your application. As you're coding, every time you save, it'll push it up. So you don't have to deal with this if you're like actually using this as a developer. So yeah, so now we can messages are fun. So that's just gonna sit there and be a chat room as long as we want it to be. And that's the whole app, but that's not where the story ends. So who here made it this far coding along? Anybody?
I think your stuff was
Too
not
fast?
accessible.
Too fast?
I wanted to.
All right.
I wanted to hack it.
Well, so what you can do if you want is if you've got a couch installed, is you can replicate this database from my machine to yours. So it shouldn't be super hard for people who want to, but yeah, you'd come in here, you'd put in this URL as the remote database, and then you'd put in a local database like mine here, and click replicate. And so, for instance, I just did this all on localhost, but if we switch this out now to mine, right, it's the exact copy of the data. You make this continuous, so we can have a mesh going of a bunch of people all running the chat app locally, and the messages are propagating across the mesh. So if anybody wants to replicate this stuff down to, you don't have to have coded along, you can pull it over to your couch, assuming that when you hit this URL you get anything. So are folks able to hit my server?
What's the real IP?
It should be this 10.106.70.189, port 5984. I might need to configure something here.
Oh, I can't.
You can't hit it? I wonder if it's like Frog Design Wi-Fi config. But you guys were doing
They have
stuff
a
earlier.
DNS.
What about now? Yeah. Well, I give up. I'm not going to try and debug network stuff here.
Yeah.
But
Your firewall is probably up.
maybe. Did Apple do that to me since last time I figured out how this thing works? So yeah, I won't stress about trying to get the replicator set up. If you're willing to take my word for it that it's like sort of trivial, right? You send a JSON request to Couch and it establishes this continuous connection. Any events that happen on one database show up on any other database that's connected to it. So you can create like a cross between a chat room and FidoNet. So that's the live coding. I'm happy to take questions. It went pretty short. I've got lots of slides I can give, but I don't want to put y'all through that.
Could you quickly recap where all the code is running? Was it all on the server?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll recap it. That's a good question. So everything in here is, of course, running in the browser. So, what's happening is when you hit enter, it's creating a JSON object and it's pushing it over to the server with an HTTP post, and that's what's creating those documents that that we're seeing in here. So that's what these are. They're JSON, so normally they would look like that. The ID here corresponds to the URL. So if we hit Austin/that, it'll give me the raw document. So that's what the browser is actually interacting with, is the JSON API. The only code that is running on the server is that MapReduce, which is giving you the messages, sorted, ascending or descending. And we're not even reducing it, so all we're doing is just sorting those. But with reduce, we could also count them and count them inside time ranges and stuff like that. So yeah, Couch will do other things on the server. You can write a validation function to accept or reject updates based on permissions and whether or not they're well formed. And you can do other things like have Couch directly serve HTML that it generates on the server based on the JSON that it's storing. Most people don't do that because it's just easier to write some Ajax code that runs in the browser. So yeah, I think that's it for what I want to show you guys. But
one of the coolest things about Couch to me is like its possibilities on mobile and like syncing and stuff like that. Can you go into how some of that's been used in the past and how that's cool and stuff?
Yeah. So we've got everything you've seen here, the server running on Android phones, running on iOS, and that means that you can take it doesn't have to be a web app. So you could have like an Objective-C, like a native iPhone app that's listening for events off the database and can update in real time as things are happening. So if you're like making an app for like real estate agents driving around showing properties, and they want to see notes come in from other agents in the same agency, like, oh, this house has like a bunch of barking dogs right now, don't go show it, or whatever. Those will pop up in real time. So that one agent would save it locally on their device, and then when they get network access next, it will propagate to the cloud, and then when you get network access next, it'll propagate down to you. So the idea is that you get reliable store and forward delivery of messages. Ordinarily, everyone's online all the time, and so it's nearly real time. But if you go offline and come back online, it'll heal that and pull the data in when it can.
All right, now give us the Flame War. Redis, Mongo, and Couch, and someone else want one? Another NoSQL story.
Cassandra?
Cassandra? Yeah, do the gamut. Tell us why it's better or different.
Cassandra. Everyone runs a fork of Cassandra. The Redis is better than Couch for the things it's good at, but it's good at totally different things from Couch. Mongo is good. It's got kind of, I don't know, I think this is a pretty easy first 5 minutes, but I think they have an even slicker first 5 minutes. User experience, developer experience doesn't really go that deep technically. Like, people run into weird problems under load. Let's see. Who else was I supposed to talk about?
React.
Oh yeah, React is interesting. I don't really know it that well. Like, they don't have the full stack capability like the query model that Couch has, and their distribution model isn't quite as flexible. But it has, you know, they're real engineers. I definitely respect what they're doing.
Is the implication that the others aren't?
Well, Asamatore is great too.
He's Redis, right?
Yeah, the Redis guy. So let me see if I've got a.
What he leaves out that's important.
Yeah. That's the way I like it.
So yeah, I'm not going to show you a bunch of slides, but I'm going to show you a couple slides that kind of show you about the replication stuff. So you know, let's see where to start. So the higher level patterns are the part that takes a long time to figure out. Like the lower level stuff, kind of eventually you rock it. But trying to build social software on top of it is what it's really interesting for. So the replication API, this is what you could use if you wanted to pull the data off of my device, you know, that we were just messing around with. You just do a post to your server with a source URL and a target URL, and it handles the rest, so it'll make them the same. And it'll do that efficiently and incrementally, and so if it gets disconnected and reconnected, it only does what it has to. It doesn't, you know, recopy everything. And then what makes it interesting is you can filter this. So here we're only replicating documents whose ID starts with the letter A. Of course, this filter could be arbitrarily complex. It's got access to the full document. It also has access to the context, the request, who's making this request. So you could say, you know, only replicate documents that Chris is allowed to see. So that's what, you know, we're doing here. This is like if you were going to build Twitter on Couch. You would have all of the writes go into the master database, and then filter so the user A's database only has tweets from people they're following, right? It only has stuff user A cares about in it. And then user A, all their devices could synchronize with that database. And so the results are kind of all pre-cached in there. The other nice thing about that from like a security auditability standpoint, like I know there's a company in San Diego that's doing work with the pharma industry where they put like lab requests into this big database and they filter it out. So like the pharma A company will say like, you know, pharma B and C can look at this, but pharma D has to not know this lab request exists because they're a big competitor. And so you can actually, you don't need like a full audit logging system because you can actually just go pick up, you know, pharma D's database and verify that that particular piece of information is not in there. You can do, you know, kind of simpler without needing a filter. You can say everyone can access database A, but database B only a couple people can access. And so basically everyone who's connected to database B has a real-time collaborative experience, but it's private to them. So you can use that if it's like a particular sales group or, you know, this management group isn't allowed to look at this stuff, but these people are. So there's definitely people doing this in production. Interesting cases. This is a little bit of a zoom in on something one of my co-founders is doing. So every time he takes a picture, he's got his phone like wired up to this Rube Goldberg device that eventually the picture gets in Couch. And he's got a Couch in the cloud, so it's private. By default, all the pictures are private. But if he goes back to that via his application and tags it as public, right? If he says public equals true on that JSON document, that picture will immediately automatically replicate to another instance of the application that anyone can browse. And then, you know, more complicatedly, if he has a database for grandma and he tags the photo grandma, then it'll replicate to grandma's photos so she can see it. So you can do, you know, all that kind of, you know, Google Plus style circles stuff. It's just kind of falls out of how Couch replication works. Assay Depot is that pharma company. These guys are cool. They're out in rural Zambia. There's a bunch of health clinics there that were basically not on the internet because there's no internet. And so the doctors from the central clinic were having to drive hours to get out to these clinics out, on these rural dirt roads. And so they decided to computerize, but without internet, like how can you put web terminals in these clinics that aren't going to have a connection to something? So they put Couch in all the clinics, and then when the weather is nice or whatever, when the cell phone modems are cooperating, it replicates with the central place, and then they can do the things that you would ordinarily be able to do when you're communicating instead of being isolated. So that's pretty cool to see that we're making an impact in rural Africa and being part of an electronic medical record system. This is sort of similar. This is it's a UNICEF project to do rapid family tracing and reunification in disaster zones after after an earthquake or something and the infrastructure is all busted and kids were at school and parents are at work and you're trying to get them back together. This allows people to take pictures and surveys and then get that data all distributed to the aid workers before the kidnappers can get involved. So that's a good thing. Novica is a distributed video editor. So like you go to edit your video, you're going to pull this segment back, and then that edit gets saved to the database, and then it's the state of the database that reflects your UI. So it doesn't matter whether you made the edit or somebody on the other side of the world. So you can have a bunch of people collaboratively editing video, around the world using this sort of stuff.
What about something like Etherpad? Would that work well in Couch?
There's a couch pad thing or ether couch or something that somebody wrote. It's all right, but because the granularity of replication is a document, like the stuff when the real Etherpad, there's a bunch of soft state, like you wouldn't be able to replay the whole thing later.
Right.
And so if you want basically if you want a reliable message queue that has everything archived, Couch is good for that. So a bunch of open government activists are taking shape files that cities are putting up on FTP servers and converting them to GeoJSON and making them searchable with the GeoCouch extension. And then people are using that to power mobile apps. So like you've got the one guy who knows the people at the mayor's office, knows what to do, doing the import every time there's new data, new fire hydrant data or whatever it is. And then he can maintain a silo that's just like the latest imports. And someone else with a mobile app can have a replication going from that to a high availability couch. So their mobile users don't have to be dependent on some open government activists' uptime, right? You manage your own uptime, but you can have somebody else manage the data freshness for you. So that's kind of an interesting use case. I talked a little bit about the real estate already. And yeah, we're also doing big, fast cloud stuff, and I won't worry with that because that's more of a product pitch. Here's what a complicated MapReduce looks like. So this is a join between posts and comments. So like say you've got posts and comments. If it's a post, we're going to emit the document ID as the key. But if it's a comment, we're going to emit the corresponding post ID and a timestamp as the key. So when you go to grab that cursor over the view, it's like post, comment, 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 post, comment, 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 comment. So you can get out a post and all its comments in a single query. So that's and without any kind of join. A join is going to use a lot of RAM and CPU and a relational database. This is sort of like the join's already done, right? You just have this index that's already there, so it uses almost no CPU to serve it up to the client.
And what would a query URL look like for that?
So it would look a lot like what we were hitting in our applications. So this is going to be _views/messages. So it would look like that.
But now if I wanted to filter that to do the join and just get a post in a particular comment.
So you would say start key equals, in this case we don't really have, those complex keys.
Get something live. But.
Yeah, so what it would look like is it would look like, this must be, what it would look like is you would set your start key to be here, I'll type it in. So it would be like post ID in an array because your comments, right? Each comment is going to be emitting post ID, comma, timestamp. So if your start key is this, then anything that looks like this is going to be after it. And if your end key is post ID and something that comes after all the timestamps, like the empty JSON object. So now this is going to give you, all the comments that go with that post. Yeah. Any other questions? Cool. Well, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
All right, we have about 10 minutes.